20 ounces.
That's right, folks. Good morning. And this is the Week in Review. And this is the new intro. And I will get a copyright claim for it because I tested it and it does claim it. But I don't care because I love this track. And it's from a group called Ritual. This song is called Succulent. And it's amazing. And I know that it's been a while since we've done one of these because I had to take a mental health day off for 40-something days, I suspect. But anyway, as stated before, welcome back. This is Pwnery's Week in Review, and I'm going to slowly fade this one off. But if you want to hear it, then by all means hear it. Sorry. If my mic volume's a little bit low, just make sure I'm not on spatial sound, but I will move the mic a little closer to my face. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And I think what I'm going to do differently today is I'm going to start with an explanation of where the hell have I been. So last week there wasn't a show because, I'll be perfectly honest, it had nothing to do with me. My dog has been in heat for 2.5 weeks now, something like that. And my house has been chaos. So had I done a show last week at the peak of her heat, you would have heard nothing but dogs smashing into the walls, trying to get into the room, barking, whining, howling, screaming, etc. Very, very badly. So I opted not to do that. Also, I've just been working myself to death since October 1st-ish. I had a lot going on, so if you didn't know, I had a friend who recently passed away of a very rare form of cancer. It's a blood cancer, and it's exactly the same type that killed Colin Powell. Colin Powell did not die from COVID. Just let's get that out of the way right now. He had, I forgot what it's called now, but it's a blood cancer. So I had to deal with that. I had female issues, I guess you can call it, but I'm pretty sure those are resolved, which is fine, you know. But that was pretty rough. And so having to deal with, well, actually, I'll take this one step further. Um, because of my psychology background, I had been volunteering at Camp Hope here in Houston for veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. And being that this is the weekend of Veterans Day, I think we should all, if you have one, live with one, or know one, you should definitely take the time to thank them this week for their service because I work with the guys who come back incomplete or broken. And, there are some fantastic doctors out there that can fix the human body, and that's not me. I fix broken minds, essentially. Unfortunately, uh, one of the people I worked with took his own life. I want to say it was last weekend. Yeah, it was last Saturday. And I took that very personally. I probably spent the most time with him out of anybody. And what was really strange is I was getting him away from the things that were haunting him by talking about the things that were haunting me for about the last 15 years. Just things I've been through or things I've had to deal with for the last 15 years. And it worked. Like, it was incredibly positive. Problem is he's a chemical dependent to keep him balanced, and he stopped taking his pills, and then I guess the dread overcame him. So uh, I took that real personal. And what was strange is the way he did it. Uh, they tried to cover it on the news, but the stories were pulled within hours because of the way he did it. And it was because his extended family sent a lawyer after the news agency saying, don't post this. So they did pull it, but I got to hear about it, and I even got to read the letter that was in the guy's back pocket. So, because I thought it had something to do with me failing him. Uh, it isn't, but I still took it as such, and that was really hard to deal with. Anyway, not to drag everything down, I have 6 stories for you. One of them's kind of comical. I'm going to try to make this more uplifting. Since I don't have a week in review personal, I will give you a month in review personal. Since this is the first time that we've been on, I believe this is episode 22, um, which should have been episode 25, but I missed a couple of weeks. So, just in short, I have taken on a new um, sort of side job, and I can actually thank CN Arsenal's Mark Novak for this because it sort of started this passion project of mine where I was screwing up people's guns or screwing up my own guns. I think that's how he says it. He was like, you're not going to learn unless you go out there and just screw things up. And if you screw them up enough times, somebody will pay you to screw theirs up. And that's where I'm at now. So I actually have like on the side gunsmithing business now. And what ended up happening is I met this person who is into antiques and such, and he has a fascination with guns of the Wild West. And on top of that, uh, he wants me to check them out, give them once-overs, restore them, and whatnot. I know it's unusually infrequent, but I already have the next episode of This Old Gat ready to go, which I think I will edit after the show today, with one of the pistols he had me do. So, that being the case, I took on a German Ortgies 32 ACP pistol, and it was a rusty basket case, and I turned it into a polished masterpiece, according to him, which is nice. The gun was originally blued, but the finish was so far gone that he told me if there was anything else I can do to suggest it. So I told him about how I had taken a rusty Dutch Beaumont and I polished it into the white like it's supposed to be. And being that his weapon is stainless or steel, I could do the same trick on his as long as he keeps it well maintained and oiled. So he was like, yeah, let's go with that. So I polished it out, and it turned out pretty good. I mean, it was I think it was a 101-year-old gun, and it had some pitting in the sides of the slide or whatever that are deeper than I wanted to sort of dig down to clean. But it's a good 10-footer for sure. Actually, it's a good arm distance. You hold the gun in a shooting position, and it looks great. So for you, whoever you're pointing at, not so much. So there's that. So for my services, he gave me that gun to work on. He gave me a gun that I'm still not 100% sure how I'm going to fix it or take it down or work on it. And I'm holding it right now. It's called a Warner Davis or a Davis Warner Infallible. And when he sent me pictures of this, the first thing that came to mind is, wow, that looks like some sort of oddball French thing. And then I saw the way that it was riveted and pinned and screwed together, and I thought, wow, that must be one of those China guns that, says Mauser in 10 different places, even though it's not. And as I started looking at the engravings, I found out this actually came from a place called Assinet, Massachusetts. And I'm like, wow, that's a weird gun. All right, I'll try it. Send it over. So he did, and I'm going to work on this one. Thankfully, this gun actually was in the white. It's just rusty. So I will be trying to take this thing apart and sorting out its issues. I'm pretty sure the striker spring is broken as well as the mag release spring because they're incredibly soft. Sorry if you hear the dogs barking, but I try to tell people in this house that I'm going on air, and the first thing they do is make every conceivable fucking noise possible. So that's what I got to deal with. So he asked me what he owed me. And he gave me these to work on, and I said, I don't know, I'll think of something, because I really didn't need the cash. And then he shows me a picture of something he's like, hey, I just picked this up, by the way. And he was like, I was wondering if you were interested in taking a look at it. It was a 1907 Savage, 10 shots quick pistol with a holster. So I thought, how about I finish these guns that you have me working on and you let me keep the Savage? To which he said, it's all yours, dude. Enjoy. So I did my gunsmithing work for a free gun. And the next thing I have to do after today is go pick up a couple of other ones that he wants me to look at. One being a Browning Auto 5 shotgun. It's just to clean and evaluate, and he'll get that one back. And a 1873 Springfield that was converted to be a breech loader 4570. And that gun is worth somewhere between $1,800 to $3,500. And I told him, I was like, I'll give it a once over. And he's like, not interested in it? And I'm like, it's a little past the era that I'm into. And he goes, oh. Well, he says, I'm not sure what to pay you, so I'll give you this. And he sent me a photo of a Remington 1903 A3 in full World War I trim. Sling, stock, sights, all of it's there. And I thought, yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Because I already have one 1903 A3 that I built from parts, and I could only build it as a sporter because I had no barrel. I had barely a stock. Like, it was a sporter stock that I got to work with. You guys saw it. It was at this old Get episode. And I thought I'd much rather have an original 1903 than the sporter. So if I get this other one, I may either gunbroker sell this one, or I'll be open to use it as trade stock. I'm proud that I built it because it was the first gun I built from parts, from scratch. But, I mean, not counting ARs. I'm talking just like milsurps. And I think it turned out very nice. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll keep it. Maybe I'll trade it. I don't have to have two. Not of that particular gun, at least. So there's that. That's kind of what I've been doing in the meantime. I've been doing a lot of honeydews around the house where I had to fix drywall and replace baseboards and replace carpet and all that stuff, because when you live with 6 dogs, it's a goddamn nightmare. And did a bit of work on the car, and I still need to do more work on the car, but it's all coming together. Um, let's see, is there anything else? Did I buy anything else? Oh, yeah, I bought a period correct Japanese bayonet that'll fit the Type 38 that I have. And this thing's huge. It's like 20 inches or something. It's a monster. But that just shipped yesterday, so I'll see that in a few days. It came out of New York. Let's see, what else do I got going on? I have a... Oh, yeah. He brought me a shotgun. This guy. He brought me a shotgun to work on. And I won't show it on camera because I don't want people to go, oh, it's an NFA item. It's like, no, it's not. It's a derelict piece of crap that doesn't work, and it actually measures exactly what it needs to be. But either way, I didn't know what it was, and I was asking around and trying to find answers because this thing has been chopped, screwed, and twisted in so many different ways. And there's only 2 markings on the whole gun, aside from engraving. And one of them says, patent June 20th, 1883. And I thought, okay, I can look up that date. Didn't really give me any results. I know it is a break-action double-barrel shotgun with 2 triggers. And then at the top, actually there's 3 markings now that I think about it. The top says prize quality Damascus steel. So yeah, we're not shooting this one ever. Plus it has bulges down the barrel in 2 or 3 places. And then on the side it says, well, I thought it said time machine gun. Time machine. And I thought, that's weird. But then I asked around and it says prize machine gun. And that still doesn't make any sense to me. But I did my homework and I found out this was a Belgian prize machine gun. Like the companies, they call it a prize machine gun. And it doesn't work. Like the little lever to break it open works. The ejectors are kind of broken. It does not cock the strikers. And one of the interesting features is when you break open the action, it automatically engages the safety. However, everything on it's broken. Like I told this guy, I'm like, you know what? It's not even worth saving. There's nothing left. What I'll probably end up doing is off camera, off air, I'll just boil it and gently clean it and then give it back to him as a wall hanger because I can't do anything with this. It's so far gone. I tried to find a replacement stock for it. I'd be better off trying to find unicorn teeth. So I got that. He brought me a. I guess he was trying to test me with this one because I'm holding it now. That's what all this noise is. He sent me a picture, and it looked like he pulled this out of a barn that may have collapsed in the 1880s. That's how bad in shape this thing is. And he goes, "What can you tell me about this?" Well, because of its loading lever and the shape of it, I'm like, "Oh, that's an 1858 Remington." And he goes, "How the hell do you know that?" I didn't hesitate. And I'm like, "Oh, because I like the one that came after it, which is an 1875, which is what Tony York owns two of. It's what Rick from Rick's Life as I See It owns one because I told him to buy one. And I still have yet to own one because they don't have them in my area anymore. So I don't have one of these yet. But it's a rusty derelict piece of shit. I told him I would boil it completely and card it about 10 times and see whatever's left of this. And then as I started to play with it, I noticed that the first thing says, what does that say? New model, oh, Remington New Model Army 44 caliber. And I knew that this was an Army model because it has an octagonal barrel. And he asked me, "How do you know it's an Army model?" And I said, "Because this was probably given to cavalry, and they wanted the extra weight on the end of the barrel to keep it gravity pressed into their holster while they're riding." I was actually told as such before, so I just went with that. May not be true, but it's a good theory. So when I got it, I found the marking, and it sure as shit does say New Army. So I thought that was cool. But then I rolled it over, and on the 9 o'clock side of the barrel, it says Made in Italy. And I thought, oh, thank God, I can let him off easy. I told him, I'm like, this thing is worthless because it's basically just an old Uberti clone. The hammer spring is missing, the grips are missing, the trigger guard's missing, the detent for the loading lever is missing, um, the front sight is missing. There is a level of scale across the entire pistol that is probably 8 to 10 thousandths thick. I mean, this thing is it's crusty. But this is going to be my long-term project just for the sake of I did it. But he's not expecting this one back. Like, he was like, "I don't want it back." He's like, "You do whatever you want with it." So that sits on my reloading bench as just a reminder of if I really want to test the definition of insanity, I'll try it. Let's see, what else is going on? Oh, you probably all saw it. The Swedish Mauser is finished, and the episode for This Old Gat for that has been released, I think, 2 weeks ago. So there is that. To try to keep my mental fortitude intact because of people and diseases and cancers and women's issues and all that stuff, I've just been working hard. Like, I've been burning the candle at both ends since the beginning of October, and it's finally caught up to me. So, like, I need to chill physically. Like, I need to relax. So that's why we're back on the air, because I think the dog's almost out of heat. All my projects are more or less caught up. All the honeydews are done. So we're back. And I know that was really long-winded, but I mean, I'm trying to play catch-up with you guys because it's been at least 3 weeks, maybe 4. So anyway, Scott. My panelist, Scott, is here. I know it's cut off on the bottom. I'll work on the scaling of that in the future episodes. But I have one panelist today, Scott, because our friend Tony, congratulations to him. He did purchase a parcel of land in Missouri. And that is where he and his wife are headed to right now to go sort of survey their purchase. And from what he describes, it's 3.6 acres, and it's very wooded, and it's close to a heavy equipment rental place that he needs to use to clear the land. And they got a great deal on it. They undercut the offer, or they undercut the bid with an offer 72 or 73% of its asking price, and the guy took it instantly.
Hmm.
And they're neighbors now because the guy owns the parcel of land across from it or next to it or something like that. So he seems pretty happy. It seems like his wife's pretty on board with it, and I'm pretty sure they're on the road now, or maybe went last night. So that's where he is. Uh, People may drop in and out of this chat throughout the day, but I'm not sure how long we're going to run it. Maybe we'll go the full 2 hours. I think I have enough content to cover it. We'll see. So anyway, Scott, how about your week in review? I know you've got a couple of things that you've picked up or worked on or have acquired since then. So get us caught up.
Yes, well, I got my green Zenico AK furniture,
Mm-hmm.
which was fucking expensive, but worth it because I'm a whore for green.
Mm-hmm.
Not very happy with the post office because they damaged the rail, so a new one's being shipped out. I was told to just hold on to the one I got for now.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't really gotten anything else. Oh, just before we came on air, I did order a Versacarry shoulder holster.
Oh, you did. Did you use the code that I told you about?
No, I used Sportsman's Guide
Oh,
because I got it.
for pay.
Sportsman's Guide has a sale. Well, they have a sale going on Versacarry right now, and
Mm-hmm.
you can use the 4Pay program
Okay.
over a certain dollar amount.
Yeah.
I got it for what, $165?
Oh, that's not bad. Even with the code I had, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
That's good. Did you get the large frame one? The size
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the
Yeah,
one
I
I've
don't have
got.
anything that will fit the 4006.
That will. That's what I carry. That's exactly what I bought the rig for. That my 4006 is what I carry in that.
Plus, I could use it for my Beretta
Yep.
or my Jericho
Yes.
or a couple other pistols I have.
So for those of you watching, Versacarry is a holster leather worker manufacturer. They're in College Station, Texas. They use really heavy shoulder leather, and a couple of weeks back they had a sale where you could get 50% off of blemished items, but the code worked on everything. So I picked up their shoulder rig, which is usually like $199 for $98, and got it. And it took me a while to adjust it to fit me, but now I've got a really good understanding of how that works. So what I'll probably do is a gear review video, just in case anybody wants to buy one, because since that sale, they've repeated that sale twice. They had a buy one get one free sale, which would have made it half price because you would have got two for the price of one. And I got an email a couple of days ago where they said, we will give you uh, 50% off on Black Friday with the code Black21. Well, we tried it, and the code doesn't seem to work on the shoulder rigs. Originally, it was
Bastards.
because they were out of stock, but then it was back in stock, and the code still doesn't work. So I wonder if the code is only good on a certain day, or if it's just not applicable to that item.
I
But
think it's on certain items.
you're probably right. And then I have Honey built into the browser, and it found me a code for 25% off everything. So if you wanted one now and you go through their website, you can use code text25 and it knocks $25 off. So for that rig, for me right now, if I wanted to get one for my smaller pistol, 154.25 before shipping. Not bad. I mean, it's worth it. It's just when they do the buy one get one or the 50% off, I jump on this because it is such a nice setup. I originally wanted the shoulder rig like the one that Bruce Willis uses in Die Hard 3, and this is actually better than that one. And I think the one that he used in Die Hard 3 isn't even made anymore. And it was too orangey anyway. These are much nicer. The distressed leather that this guy uses looks great. Like, it's dark, like walnut dark. So anyway, there's that. You picked up a 12 gauge AK shotgun, right? There was that.
Yeah. Since we haven't done that in a couple weeks,
Yeah.
done the show in a couple weeks. Yeah, I picked up a JTS 12 from PSA actually, because they had a phenomenally good deal on it.
Those were originally
And they,
imported to my state, right? And then distributed out?
yes, these
Okay.
are from Katy, Texas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Literally in my backyard. Which is also
So,
where Vets Manufacturing is. And for those who don't know, Vets Manufacturing, I think it's vetsmfg.com. They sell very lightweight, very good rated body armor. So the first time I met the guy who runs it, he was doing a presentation for the police department. And they set up a dummy with a watermelon or something like a melon in the chest cavity. And they put this, I thought it was a t-shirt on the dummy. And then he proceeded to shoot it at 10 feet with a 44 Magnum right down the middle. And he took the vest off, flipped it over, didn't go through. Then he opened up the chest cavity and pulled out a perfectly intact, uncracked cantaloupe. And I was like, how the hell did you do that? So they were started off by a couple of veterans who ended up hiring some chemical engineers for the oil field industry. And they developed a lightweight body armor that weighs 1.5 pounds that fits in a carrier that looks like a t-shirt almost, and it stops a 44 Magnum round at 10 feet. And I think it's $150 for the set. So that's kind of cool. Like, they're engineers and veterans, and then they came up with this. Even if the idea of that is off-putting to you because you think of ceramic plates or steel plates, think about wearing that underneath a ceramic plate or a steel plate. Let that be your trauma pad that you know will stop a 44 Magnum at 10 feet. That's not bad peace of mind to me. The reason I'm bringing up body armor is because the first story we're going to talk about today, which I wasn't going to post a picture, but I might as well. Like, Scott brought up a good point. So this week was not a good week if you were a Kenosha area prosecutor. So let me just put this up here. As you can see, this is the assistant district attorney on the left, and that's the soy boy attorney on the right. Basically getting their shit pushed in repeatedly and fervently, fervently, I think is what I'm trying to say, by the judge. So if you don't know, these are the two prosecutors for Kyle Rittenhouse. And they have had the worst possible week as a prosecutor, I think, in legal history. This case will go down in history forever as how not to prosecute a crime. Like, they will teach this in law school for centuries. This is like, do you see this guy? Whatever he's doing, do the opposite. That's pretty much what this whole week was about. Every time he broke the rules of the court, the jury would be immediately dismissed. The judge would call him up to the table to sidebar and chew these guys' asses out. And the defense actually began to request a motion for a mistrial with prejudice. And that's the important part. When I first heard this, I thought, this is a terrible idea. You don't want a mistrial. Because if you have one, you can retry it. But Scott and cooler heads prevailed. And he was like, no. With prejudice means something. So I looked into it. And sure enough, if a case with prejudice, dismissed with prejudice, you can't retry it. Which means he walks. So now I understand why the prosecutor was so adamant why the defense attorney was insistent on it. But truth be told, these prosecutors, they literally were working with the defense. They screwed up so badly and so often that it was almost like instead of the state versus Kyle Rittenhouse, it was Kyle Rittenhouse plus 4 attorneys versus the state. And I thought about a week ago, I had this theory, and I posted it on the early watch. But yeah, Al was saying that the judge was pissed beyond words, and you're right. Like, he is not putting up with the shenanigans. Because there are these rules of candor in a courtroom. They're agreed upon before the trial starts, and there are certain things you cannot do in front of the jury, and this guy repeatedly kept doing things in front of the jury to sway them and politicize them. So that's why the judge would chew his shit. But anyway, there's so many mistakes with this, and their star witnesses were actually discredited in real time, on camera, under oath, by the prosecutor who was supposed to be using them as weapons against Kyle. But instead, he discredited his own witnesses through his own poor line of questioning, basically. Did you point your gun at Mr. Rittenhouse before he fired upon you? And the guy was like, yes. Oh, well, there you go. You know, the character witness that this trial would have needed immediately to just dismiss this before it even started, Masad Ayub. Like, if he went up there as a character witness and he said, or he just explained the first 10 minutes of his justifiable use of deadly force video, this would be over instantly. Because every video in this trial has shown this poor kid exercising a duty to retreat every time, being overrun, overcome, and under attack. And every shooting was self-defense. He didn't mag dump into anybody. He was actually spatially aware of... Think of the 4 gun safety rules. All the still shots of him walking, he's exercising trigger discipline. So he's already passed the first rule. Treats the gun as if it's loaded. Do not point the weapon at anything you don't intend to kill. He did that after extreme stress, under extreme stress, after trying to retreat. Know your target and what's behind it. No bystanders were hit. And he didn't mag dump. He fired 8 rounds total in less than 2 minutes. There's something to be said about that. Like, there's some value in that. Anyway, he's gonna walk. They will try to paint a picture to make him out to be a murderer, but they failed. This is a complete failure on the state. And because it was so badly done, I had this theory. I'm gonna take the picture off. I had this theory that maybe it was just a formality. Maybe this whole case was just a formality that had to be done on the public record, but that nobody in that courtroom was buying the case. Like, everybody knew that this was self-defense, and the prosecution was throwing this case on purpose because even they don't believe in these charges. I believed that until 2 days ago, when the prosecutor started splitting hairs and getting his ass chewed. When the prosecutor decided that he was going to bring in rebuttal witnesses after the fact to try to discredit the fact that he had body armor that supposedly was given to him by a police department. And then they said, we have a witness that says the police department never gave it to him, never even knew about it. And then something about where he went to school. It's like, none of that matters. The fact that they argued over the use of hollow point ammunition versus full metal jacket. Now, I don't know if Kyle was playing dumb here, but when he asked him about hollow point ammunition, Kyle should have immediately just stopped him and said, the type of ammunition is not on trial here, and the type of ammunition you're asking about was not even used in that gun. So all of this is irrelevant. Like, I think I would have, at that point, if I was him on the stand, I would have taken the offensive to the prosecutor, back right in his face, in the form of the answers to his questions. But then again, if you rub off like you know what you're talking about that much, then they're going to try to say, Why does an 18-year-old kid need to know all this? Why does he know all this? You know, they would play that angle. So maybe he did it the right way. I don't know. Either way, I'm certain he's going to walk. The theory that nobody is buying this case, I raised it and immediately removed it because I realized, nah, it's not that. Anyway, any thoughts, Scott?
Pretty sure the prosecutor was trying to throw the trial.
You got that feeling too.
He's been in front of that judge before. He knows that judge's personality.
Mm-hmm.
He knows if he breaks the rules, the judge is going to fucking flip.
So is it a matter of he's not buying this trial either, and he just wants it over with? Or is he trying to set the judge up in a public stage to get him removed from the bench in the future? Or both?
That judge is the most senior judge in that circuit.
Okay. That makes sense because, I mean, this is a pretty big trial.
This prosecutor just didn't have a case, is grasping at straws and trying to do whatever he can.
Agreed.
To try and convict him. Him, you know, going further, you know, it shouldn't be, but judges and lawyers sometimes don't like each other.
You're not the first person I've heard that from.
Based on prior acts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Prior trials.
Yeah, you're not the first person who said that.
They're not supposed to, but if you were a judge in, say, LA County after the OJ verdict, would you be very happy with one of OJ's lawyers walking in to represent somebody in your court?
Well,
considering they just got somebody off on the trial of the century.
I'm trying to think of where I heard that this week. Like, you're raising very good points that I've heard also from other places. Like
It's part of the trial process that you prep your witnesses.
Yes. Oh, I know what it was.
As a prosecutor, you prep your witnesses, and it's like, they didn't do any prep on freaking Mr. Missing Bicep Man. You know what I mean?
No, because he literally threw the trial with his answer about pointing the gun.
Yeah. Not only that, but I believe they asked him whether he had a valid carry permit, which he didn't.
Expired, if I'm not mistaken, or revoked. Because he's a felon.
Criminal.
Yeah, he's got a felony on his record.
So why was he? And it just came out that, you know, the prosecutors cut him a deal for his testimony. Not only that, but he also has a financial interest in convicting Kyle. Because he's got a $10 million lawsuit against the city. Which now has gone out the window because for getting shot.
Okay, so Al brought up a good point. He says the judge knew he was trying to throw the trial. He probably thinks this will be an acquittal and wants it to go to jury instead. I have to disagree, because there's a thing that this judge can do. For instance, when they talked about the gun and they said it was brought across state lines, it was immediately debunked because it was in possession of his friend in a safe in the state of Wisconsin. So everything could have stopped at that point right there, and the judge can do something called a bench trial or a bench ruling on individual charges in the grand scheme of all the charges that are available. He can overrule the jury and go, based on that information, I'm dismissing this particular charge. He can do that, and he didn't. He wants to let the jury do it so it doesn't show any bias by the judge. But anyway.
He got rid of that minor breaking curfew charge. The judge just automatically dismissed that and was like, you haven't shown any evidence of that. Goodbye.
Well, you know, I don't think that's why he did that. I think the reason he did that was because of Kyle's answer. Wait a minute, you're a 17-year-old kid. Why are you on the streets of Kenosha at, past 11 o'clock at night? And he goes, I think I had as much right to be there as all the rioters. That was a great answer.
That was.
The whole trial is predicated on the fact that none of this would have happened if the state's police were allowed to do their job, but they weren't. They were hamstringed and hogtied. They weren't allowed to do anything. They were told to stand down and watch their city burn. So the people decided that they were going to take care of it themselves. And this becomes a core Second Amendment argument based on solely just that. Because the people formed a militia to protect the businesses. And the really strange thing to me was during this trial, the prosecutor kept trying to say, would you agree that it's not right to use deadly force to protect a car, like a parking lot? And the guy was like, yes, I would agree. Do you agree that it's not okay to point a weapon at somebody who's burning a trash can? Yes, I would agree. Do you think it's not okay to point a gun at somebody who lit a cone on fire? Yes, I agree. Like, there was that whole line of thinking, right? Here's the thing, though. Rooftop Korean. During the riots of LA, there were tons of people on the roof pointing guns at people on the street to stop them from burning down their building, right? They could have just pointed that out and stopped the prosecutor dead in his tracks. Do you think it's unreasonable to point a weapon at somebody while protecting property? No, I agree with it. That's a de-escalation tactic. If I got a guy who's bringing a Molotov cocktail and he's running towards my house and I'm on the roof, you're goddamn right I'm going to point a rifle at him. I might even shoot him at the, down by his feet to get him to turn the hell around. It's called being a sentry. It's protecting your interests. But then they pulled this angle of, well, you don't own that business and they didn't ask you to do it. Well, they didn't ask me individually, but they asked the group I was with to do it. Like, these are hairs that could have been split in front of the jury. They would have understood that. You can't protect something unarmed. If you have the gun and somebody's coming at you with a weapon, you have every right to point it at them. You can brandish, especially if you're trying to de-escalate the situation. You don't have to shoot them, but this prosecutor kept trying to make it sound like pointing the gun is as bad as shooting them. And they didn't go down that avenue. I guess maybe the defense didn't think they needed to. I think they did. I think they should have. Either way, the kid's going to walk. I'm telling you. At the end of Thursday, they kept trying to split hairs on a still photograph from a drone to show that Kyle was pointing a gun at somebody in a parking lot before all the other stuff happened. And I thought, why are you working on a still photo? Why are you trying to question the integrity of an enhanced still photo? They were like, did you zoom in this photo? And the guy was like, yes. And he said, did you modify pixels while enhancing this image to make it easier to see? And he goes, I didn't. The software did. And he said, okay, how does the software work? And the guy was like, I didn't write the software. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm an IT guy. I amateur Photoshop pictures. I know the thing that he's talking about. I know the software he's talking about in question. Basically what it is, his answer could have been, when you enlarge a photo, it spreads the distance between the pixels that are already in the original image, and now it has to fill in the gaps. And the algorithm simply assumes the colors around the gap and blends it with a color in between. That's the perfect answer to that question that nobody would give. Nobody. They all said, I didn't write the software. Well, no shit, Sherlock. But you know how it works. Don't play stupid. If I had a yellow pixel here and a red pixel here, and I enhanced it 1,000%, and now there's a gap in between, you want to guess what color I'd put in the middle? Orange? Anyway, they tried to split hairs on a still photo to try to discredit Kyle for brandishing a weapon. When the fact is, every video on record shows him running for his life, turning around and firing at the last second, sometimes after being struck. this whole thing is self-defense. I think this whole trial is nothing but pageantry because they had to do it, not because they believed in it. It had to be on the record. Yeah, at least we gave him a trial. We know he was going to walk. That's my opinion. Anyway, let's see. Al says BLM threatened to tear up our downtown at a protest. Truckloads of locals showed up with long guns, and the quote protesters left with their tails between their legs. One of the protesters in a Facebook group posted, "Don't go back there, these people are crazy." Exactly. You have the right to protect your property. You have the right to assemble. You have the right to protect your interests. I mean, we have a military that protects our nation because it's our interests. As an individual who creates a militia or a neighborhood watch, we're protecting our neighborhood. It's our interests. Like, that is unquestionable. Anyway, we have really dragged that one on, which I'm kind of glad because I really did want to discuss this at length. And I wanted to give it its fair amount of time. And I think we covered it pretty good. And I think if you're a viewer of this show or any others that talk about this, we're probably all in agreement anyway. So this is just file that under duh. Anyway, we ran that one long. So my first story today, aside from that, is this one. Smith & Wesson breaks their new ground on their new facility in, I think it's, is it Springfield? No. Tennessee. Is it Nashville? No, Springfield. Yeah, it is in Springfield. So the area is called Partnership Park. I think it's 240,000 square feet or 240,000 acres. I think it's 240,000 square feet. It's big. It's really big. Anyway, so yeah, they've left. What did they leave Massachusetts for this one? Or was it New York, Scott? Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I know they left their corporate headquarters. That's what it is. 240 acre site. Okay, so it is huge. Yeah, so they left Massachusetts where their corporate office was, and they're moving it to Tennessee basically. So that's what that boils down to. And they're not the first. One of the other stories we're going to cover, you'll see. Basically, the birthplace of our nation has become the cesspool of liberalism and anti-gun liberalism on top of that. So they have decided to finally move. They've broken ground there. We have a pair of friends from our old Gun Channels days, Frankie and Rob, and they currently live in Ohio, but they vacation very frequently in Tennessee. And I may have dropped her a suggestion this morning that maybe they should consider making the move because she works in customer service. She used to be a dispatcher for technicians of the same company, but they did away with that. And then they turned around and made her do customer service now over the phone, which is a job that sucks when you're in your 30s and gets even worse when you're in your 40s because you don't want to put up with the bullshit. So I suggested to her, I'm like, why don't you just move to the place you always go vacation? Because you seem to love that state. Why don't you go make it part of who you are? Well, she talked about jobs. Now there's this. It's like, why don't you go here? Wouldn't it be cool to be customer service for Smith & Wesson? I think it'd be cool. Like if they brought a gun manufacturer to my part of Texas, I would go work for them. Absolutely. That'd be awesome.
Didn't you try and do that?
I tried to
Not
pick up a
women
job at
attached, though.
Primary Arms, but it was for social media and videos and pictures. And unfortunately, they went with the model of sex sells. So I got beaten out by a woman.
Boobs.
Yeah, a good-looking woman, I guess. And she's their social media face now, which is fine. I mean, they're not really a manufacturer, are they? Like that location is not. It's where
No.
they are, but they're not making things there. So it's not the same. Like if Ruger decided to build a factory here, that's where I'd go. Something like that. Primary Arms is more like a distributorship, like Bass Pro or something, you know? It's a big place, though. Like, I go there often. And I think it's kind of funny that, what is it? Military Arms Channel got a sponsorship from Primary Arms. And here I am, a local 40 minutes away from them, and I'm not even on their radar. I'm just like, thanks for putting him in my place. I know I'm a little guy. Thanks. Thanks for that. But you know what? They were little guys before too, so what the hell? All right, anyway. Smith & Wesson makes the move. Now it's time for Frankie to get a new job. Maybe she can move over there. That'd be cool. Her and Rob will probably love it. Let's see. Next story. I guess I'll do these slightly out of order, just because this one makes sense too. So after Smith & Wesson decided to move, Remington, you remember them? Those guys? Weren't they bankrupt? Weren't they dead? Weren't they gone after the whole R-51 debacle? Apparently they're back, and they're moving to Georgia. So they're leaving the state of New York, and they're going to Georgia. And I think the deal was, $100 million. Now, think about if you lived in New York City. Think of if you're a business owner in New York City, or just an employee. And I'll use Sean Hannity for an example of this. He works in New York City. In New York City, you are taxed if you take in federal, state, and city taxes. 67 cents of every dollar you earn goes to taxes. Every dollar you make, 67 cents is tax. That's insane. I'm sorry, that's ridiculously insane. And he makes what? $20 million a year? I think that's his salary, like $20 million a year.
Who, Hannity?
Yeah.
Something like that,
67 cents out of his $20 million is tax. So he's only taking home six and a third, 6.3 million. Now, granted, he has a travel budget covered by the station. He has a wardrobe budget covered by the station. Most of his meals are probably covered by the station. So most of that money is profit for him. But still, I make $20 million. How much do you get to take home? 6. What? What? Now, if you're a gun manufacturer, you probably have the same thing. Plus regulations, plus the hate of your lawmakers in your state. Why would you want to continue doing business in a state that don't want you there? And then they get butthurt about the fact that you left and now 800 people are out of work in their fair city where they've been taxing people for 67 cents out of every dollar. Duh. So yeah, they're going to move to Georgia, LaGrange, and they're not going to be taxed as much. They're not going to be as regulated as much. They're going to probably receive a 10-year grace period on their property taxes because that's what we do here in Texas when we get new businesses to come. We incentivize. No taxes for 10 years, property. So they probably got that. And they're going to help their own local economy by hiring 800 people there. Now, I'm sure that when a company moves, they will extend offers to the current employee base. Hey, we're moving. Would you like to come with us? We can make arrangements for your moving expenses. And most people won't take the offer, so they're out of work. But they'll get a severance package, which will be taxed. But some people may actually go from New York to Georgia. We'll see. I've known a couple of people who took the offer, but most people don't. All right. So that's that. I'm going to save the funny one for last. I'm doing this all in the wrong order. How about we talk about the legal double standard in this country? What is good for ye is not for me. Stuff like that, right? Now, shut up. Anyway, let me see. What's a good example? There was a person who was arrested for throwing his grandparents a party of about 20 people. And because of his city's mask mandates, his Karen-like neighbor called the police. He told the police to go pound sand. They arrested him. Nancy Pelosi goes to a wedding in her state in the city of San Francisco and attends a gala of more than 500 people, and there's a drone shot of her smiling away in a crowd of 500 people right in the middle. And yet, nothing happens to her. Veterans Day, the President of the United States gives a speech, and he makes the most cringe-worthy speech to date when he talks about Satchel Paige. And I'm not going to repeat what he said. Most of you already know. But the question is, what would have happened if Donald J. Trump said that speech on Veterans Day? Washington, D.C. would be on fire right now, wouldn't it? Cities all over the country would be burning. Oh my God, he's the racist in chief.
DNC would be talking about it constantly.
Yeah. And yet, Biden got a pass. So, I'm setting the stage here for something else. If you were talking in a public forum with cameras on you, and you turn around and you say to the new mayor-elect of New York City, if you bring back your task force for gun violence, we will come down upon you, and we're pledging violence and blood in the streets, and we're coming after you. Right? That's a threat. That is a expressly given threat. And this is Hawk Newsom, who is one of the leaders of BLM in New York. And he has done exactly that. He promised blood in the streets. He promised violence. He's inciting an actual riot. Because the new mayor-elect is vowing to return his anti-gun violence police force. Now, I'm going to scroll down a little further, and you're going to wonder, wait a minute, look who he's promising the violence to. What's wrong with this picture? The guy in charge is of the same ethnicity as the guy making the threat. How's that work? Now here's the funny part. Eric Adams is a Democrat, but he vows to work with police and bring them back and try to take control of a chaotic situation. He doesn't seem like a lunatic. He doesn't sound like a radical. He talks eloquently. He speaks like he's an educated person. You know, for a couple of years, I knew a lot of people who would just instantly dismiss anybody with a D, a party affiliation, next to their name. And I thought, we can't be so set in our ways that we dig our heels in just because of that. I'll give you another good example. If she wasn't anti-gun, and you didn't hear anything about guns from this person, and you listened to almost everything else that they had to say about politics and geopolitical topics, you could nod your head every once in a while and go, I agree with that. And you would be agreeing with Tulsi Gabbard, who actually got delegates during the primaries, unlike the vice president, who got 0, who could potentially be the next president of the United States if Biden was ever impeached or removed or kicks the bucket or whatever. It would be the first time in American history that a president was forced upon a nation where that person never received a single delegate because nobody likes her. But the point is Just because they have a D next to their name doesn't mean you have to instantly dismiss them. This guy doesn't sound like a loon. This guy actually sounds all right. I mean, Joe Manchin, right? He sounds all right, doesn't he? Surprisingly to me, Kirsten Sinema lately, she doesn't sound like a lunatic. But her party's led by them. My dog, for some reason, thinks she's allowed to go outside. And she's not, because she's in heat. Thank you. Lay down. Stay right there. She came all the way over here. Sorry. Anyway, yeah. Apparently in New York City, it's okay to threaten your mayor. Your mayor-elect. He hasn't even taken office yet. But it's okay. You can threaten his life. You can promise blood in the streets. You can be a lunatic in New York. And none of that should surprise any of you. Right? Right. Let's see. What else do I have for you today? Ah, okay. I don't think I have this yet. Let me see. I'm going to pull it up real quick. Sorry, this is a loud keyboard, isn't it? Okay, so we still don't have it. Rapper Travis Scott held an event in my city called the Astroworld Festival. And on its face, I thought it was kind of a neat thing. Like, I listen to all types of music. And I hear this and I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's not really my cup of tea, but I can see there's some value in it. But, you know, his promotional group put together this giant event. And the security was inexperienced and very scant. There wasn't enough. There's too many people. The mask mandate thing just didn't seem to matter. And people started pushing and rushing up towards the stage, and a lot of people were trampled on, and 9 people have died from it. But it's not because of trampling. It was because somebody in the crowd was jabbing people with a needle. And then these people would fall over into various forms of distress. One had like cardiac arrest, and a couple of people were like in a lethargic, catatonic state, weak breathing and things. And so I had this theory that somebody was running around with needles of fentanyl in liquid form and jabbing these people. But the toxicology results are still not out after 4 or 5 days of this. And a 9th person had died 2 days ago. So it's kind of hard because they're saying that the toxicology is weeks away. But Travis Scott and his promotional group, his lawyers and all that, they've basically said that they will cover all the expenditures of the funerals and the counseling and anything that these people need. Anything. So I know it's CYA, but the fact that he jumped on it and said, I will take care of this, I will cover this, this should have never happened. Not terrible, kind of a nice thing, a good gesture. You expect him to do it, actually, but it's a good gesture. What am I getting at with this? This whole thing was a proverbial shit show in terms of the way it was organized. There were videos of people running up to the stage screaming, "You have to stop this. There are people dying on the floor out here." And the show went on for another 30 minutes. That's the fault of the promoter. Now, he's a performer and part a performer, but there's like a ringleader of the event as it's happening, calling the shots. Move up, move out, turn on these lights, shut off these lights, that kind of thing. That guy should be run out on a rail because the show went on. That's ridiculous. And there was way too many people in too tight of a spot anyway, which I think is crazy. Anyway. Any thoughts? Like, this thing's been kicked around to death already. It's just I wanted to bring it up.
And he's going as far as he is with, like, if they need anything.
Yeah.
Hey, it is TYS. Cover your ass.
Yep.
And, like, he was getting so much shit from everybody for days after the concert.
Yeah, they were
He had
pulling
to
up
do
his
something
social media from before.
grand to make it seem like he cares.
Yeah, they might have twisted his arm into it, sure. Um, he's had a history of sort of promoting nefarious behavior, I guess is a good way to put it. Maybe, I don't know. It's a lifestyle though, right? Like a certain style of this music it's to put off an image of something they're not. Because if you have to think about it, at the end of the day, he's just a performer. He's just a singer, right? He's an entertainer. Now, the thing is, though, is you take a look at a guy like Tekashi 69, right? He is a gangbanger who became famous. So he doesn't just sing about the lifestyle. He actually does live it, which is dangerous. Because anybody who grew up in the 90s knows that you took guys who were music people, they were supposed to be entertainers and their version of a musician, singer, and they started gang wars in the street over music of where the guy came from. We're talking about Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac Shakur, right? It became a turf war over where your singer came from. How stupid is that? But that's the way the entertainment industry works, right? You build fanaticism and lunatics from something that was supposed to be just a way to make money and tell a story. Wow, good job, guys. Great work. We're getting right back to that, essentially. We're going through these way too quick, by the way. It's because we don't have Tony here to slow things down with a third opinion. That's what it is. Let's see. What do I got? What else do I got? I know I got one more. Oh yeah, okay. I guess we'll go ahead and get into the funny story that I brought you. So you know who Caitlyn Jenner is, and you know that it used to be Bruce Jenner, who used to be an Olympic runner, right? And he married into a family of people who sort of became famous for sleeping with people. I'm marginalizing this, but you get the idea. And that family has sort of bent and twisted and messed him up in such a way where he was like, I think I'm going to be a woman now. Well, that usually requires hormone replacement therapies, and in his case, surgical means to de-sausage, so to speak, right? Well, Burger King has decided to make that job much easier. Way, way easier. So you can thank Scott for this one, by the way. And for some reason, I called this Impossible Tits. Burger King's new Impossible Burger has 44 milligrams of estrogen in it, which I think is, 70 or 200 times more than your natural body produces? 18 million times. Wow. If you want to grow boobs, basically all you got to do is go to Burger King and just start ordering these Impossible Burgers. 18 million times more estrogen than a standard Whopper. 18 million times. Now, if you eat 1,000 Whoppers, you're going to be on 10 tons and loving it, right? And you'll be dead by the time you're 35. Or if you're older, you'll be dead in 5 years. But if you ate 1,000 Impossible Burgers, you would need a breast reduction surgery in like 3 weeks. A gunmetal guy came in just as I said de-sausage. Yeah. It's okay. We went from de-sausage to growing boobs with a burger. It's hard to say why, but it is what it is. Yeah, so if you want to grow boobs, go vegan. Actually, no, just eat that burger and you'll grow boobs. Man. Sorry. I thought I was going to be able to get some more mileage out of our stories this week, but I'm a little out of practice, I think is what it is. So anyway, let's see. I think that's all I really had for you guys this week. Yeah. Man. Sorry, I don't think I'm going to be able to do the full 2 hours today, just because we didn't have enough panelists to really cover the weeks in review and what we're going to do. But I guess we can sort of get into that. What do you got going on the rest of the weekend, Scott?
Shops.
My coworker George loaded up his new fancy Toyota 4Runner TRD off-road, and he went to the Texas Renaissance Festival today. And I told him, I said, I hope you brought $1,000 with you. And he goes, why is that? And I said, because you can. I used to go to the Renaissance Festival every year, and the first couple of years I was poor, so I was bored to tears because like I couldn't afford to do anything. And then when I did have pretty good money, I'd go over there and my eyes would pop out of my head with how expensive everything was. But it's like Disney World in rodeo form, and it comes back to my state, once a year in this one spot of Texas every year. And I think I figured out if you go by yourself and you want to have a really good time for the whole day, you should bring about $1,000. And that sounds insane, doesn't it? But it's like a miniature vacation anyway. Like I have to drive 2.5 hours to get there, and it's expensive. Parking, admission, trinkets, shows, food, drink, and a friend of mine. She asked me. She goes, Can you get this stuff that they serve there anywhere else?" As a matter of fact, you can. So I don't have to go there for the stuff that they serve, because we have this restaurant in town called the Hobbit Hole, and it's full of all things Lord of the Rings in the wall, in the building. But they have an incredible beer selection of like Belgian quad ales and dark ales and Abbey ales and things like that. So it's like I can get the weapons grade drinks anytime I want, and the food stuff that they make, and get that there anytime I want, and not have to spend $1,000 to do it. Anyway, so you finished putting all the green furniture on your 74?
No, I'm holding off on putting them to
Oh, until you get the new rail.
and the rail.
Got
until
it.
I get the new one.
I have to decide what I'm going to do today. And I think what I'm going to start with is the Ortge's video.
Which I should probably have Monday or Tuesday at the latest.
He already gave you tracking on it?
He didn't give me tracking on it, but I know after I told him, and he was kind of pissed off at he's like, I'll handle it. So I'm pretty sure he put another one in the mail the next day.
Oh, I have a question for anyone in the audience, because I don't have a source. So what I'm going to do is I need to find a magazine for my new Savage pistol, which are apparently unicorn teeth. And if any of you in the audience knows where I can get one that doesn't cost me $100, hit me up. Leave me a link or a comment in the description below, or you can email me in the link below, and you should get an invite to the server anyway. I don't know why you haven't asked for it, but you can ask for it there, and I'll send you a link to the server. And hook me up, because I need to find magazines. My pistol came with no magazines. So there's that. Need to do the Ortge's. I really need to go outside, and I need to do the sway bar end links on my car. I'm so tired of it squeaking. Like I think I'm going to do that first, actually, because it's nice outside. Apparently it's only 61 outside too. Holy crap. I need to do that. What else I got to do? I already asked the question about the gun. Oh, If there are any stories that you guys want to share for the week in review and you want it on air, I don't mind putting it on. You can either email me the stories, link in the description below, or you can join the server, and then I will give you permission to post links because we have, you probably see it, it's right here, this one. We have a week in review show prep channel. So I can share stories, either your local stories or a national story you think is worthy of telling on air. Because most of the stories we share, let's be honest, they get kicked around enough on the news as it is. It's just we're trying to prioritize the ones that caught our eye and then really just bring it forward. Ow. But I think that's all we got for you today. Man, that's a shame. I will work on your This Old Gap. I'll do that. I'll see if I can get that out this evening, which would be cool because I usually do these once every 3 or 4 months. So to have 2 in a single month is pretty cool. It's just they come so few and far between because I'm self-funded. If you notice, I've never talked about Patreon or Utreon or Subscribestar or send me money through my PayPal or come join my OnlyFans and I'll show you my dog's chocolate starfish on camera, you know, stuff like that. I don't do that. So I buy them when I can. I film them when I can. I work on them when I can. And I do appreciate you guys taking the time to watch too, because this is something that I never thought I would do. Like, we did Good Morning Gun Channels years ago, and I always told people, I'm not going to host a show. It's not easy to do. The show prep's a long time. Nobody wants to hear what I've got to say. And then here you are. And my subscriber count keeps climbing, so I appreciate that. I guess I will go ahead and start playing this. As a thank you for all of you joining us today, it is a little short. I do apologize. I'm sure normal service will resume at full length soon because I will have all my panelists. And like I said before, if you want an intro to the server or a link to join, just email me at the address below. Cut and paste it. It's really long. I get it. I did that as a joke, but you might even get extra credit if you know where that came from. And hit the little like button, share this, maybe subscribe, maybe tell your friends that we exist, especially for those who used to know us over at Gun Channels and maybe don't know that I do these. Yeah. So in the meantime, I want to thank you all for watching. Again, I apologize it's a bit short, but we'll be back next week. Later, y'all.
Later.